Right, I welcome everyone to our Agri Accounting Ecosystems webinar. Hopefully we won't put you to sleep at this time of night. Quick intro, I'm Cherie and this is Erin. We are both associates here at MCI and Associates, based in Dannevirke. Here at MCI we have a really great team that work with a variety of softwares, and we have compiled a specialised committee to help deal specifically with any client questions and to give our recommendations on what program we think best suits the client's needs. And we also are trying to offer customers some focus training in the system, because a lot of these online systems tend to have online chat bubbles where you can't actually speak to someone in person. So, and we know that chatting to you on the phone is sometimes a lot easier or in person than talking to a little bubble on a computer. So that's basically us.
Cool.
Sorry. So this is a bit of an overview of our agenda for the day and some items that we'll be covering off. And yeah, over to you, Erin.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Cherie forgot to mention she is an accountant, but also a farmer. And yeah, we couldn't find one picture of her on the farm to put onto the slide, so that's her job for tomorrow. But anyway, I'm not a farmer, but I really enjoy agri accounting. So and also I'm calling myself young. I'm just 30. So we are quite keen, as MCI, we're quite keen to progress a lot of these software options for our clients, because we are seeing a lot of benefits for our clients from using them. So yeah, we're just going to go just a quick overview, and then we're going to go through some key functions that we think are important and features of online software for farmers that are important to assist you in your business and your lifestyles and things like that. And then we've got a little bit of a session at the end. It's just a recorded session of the two main sort of solutions for agri accounting, and you guys might be using either or. So yeah, if you want to stick around at the end, we'll be showing those as well. Just a slide for looks, really. So we'll skip to the next one. So yeah, in terms of benefits of cloud accounting for farmers, we're going to go through specifically a lot of these benefits, but I guess overall for farmers, I mean, it's being able to manage your farm on the go. Everything's electronic, so you know we are enabling everyone that works for your team in terms of your accountants, your advisors, your bankers, everyone that's involved in your farm business can actually see everything you can see in real time and be able to make decisions with you or help you with decisions. So the main benefit of having online software for your farm is to have all that information, all that data available. And that sounds boring because this is an accountant talking, but for you as farm owners and farm operators, it's just enabling you guys to have a bit more control over having all your information and being able to make decisions from it. So what's out there in the market? Really, there's two main players in the market. And I know there's 4 pictures on the screen, but the main 2 players are Xero and Figured and Farm Focus being the second. So they're pretty much the offerings for agri farm accounting. Both of them are very popular, both of them are very good. And we obviously deal with all software. So in terms of the differences between the two, we're going to go through a little bit of that on our little demo at the end. And price is something as well, which we won't sort of get into because price changes depending on what you're using and what parts of it you're not, that sort of thing. But there is a cost in all of this, and it just seems to be, in the scheme of things, not a huge deal. So that's me as an accountant, not a user of these programs. So yeah, in terms of what we offer as a firm, as an accounting firm, and we actually operate from 2 offices, Pahiatua and Dannevirke, and we cover a large sort of span from Wairarapa to Hawke's Bay. So what we offer is, I guess, it's personal training and implementation of these services for our clients. We've noticed, and if you were a Cash Manager user in the past, and since transferred over to Farm Focus, as everyone has now, we noticed there was a lot of help needed there for clients transitioning over. So we did spend a lot of time with our clients then. When I say we, it was mostly Cherie doing that, but we were spending a lot of time with our clients transitioning over to Farm Focus. And then also we've done a lot of work around just putting clients onto programs that potentially were just doing manual sort of cash books as a lot of people used to do, or using bank statements or BankLink if some of you sort of familiar with that. So we've done a lot of moving clients onto these online solutions, and we've learned a lot as we've gone, and we really think that clients are now benefiting a lot from it. So yeah, in terms of what we can offer, long story short, is that we can offer any assistance around implementation and then training around using it and doing sort of everything in it. Your bookkeeping, your budgeting, your GST returns, all that sort of thing. So that's a sales pitch. We'll move on past that. The deep dive pretty much on first again, but this slide is really about the collaboration benefits of using online software. So when we're talking online software, it's not just your software you use to do your GST or the software you use to do your budgeting. It's all of the bits that come together as one. So it is your accounting side, it's your livestock tracking, it's your farm management, everything that can collaborate and then come into one for your advisory team or your farm team. So it is key to have those in this day and age in terms of the bank for financial success. So to be able to make those decisions and have the correct information up to date all the time to be doing that. So it's providing also though your team around you with some timely information. So it's not waiting till the GST return's done every 2 or 6 months. It's just enabling you to say, ring up your accountant, this is what I think I'm going to do. Can you have a look to see what we were at? Same with the banker. You know, everyone's looking at the same thing and they can all make notes and work from there. So I guess it's, yeah, long story short again, is it's data sharing, and it's data sharing that's now, not data sharing that's 12 months on, sort of how it used to work when you're doing those sort of discussions with your team when you've got paper-based stuff. So we're just going to move on to the next slide. Thank you to you guys who have just joined. You missed the exciting part, I think. But we've just introduced ourselves and MCI really, and what we do and why we're doing this webinar is around just a bit of awareness around the online solutions for farmers, and how we've seen for our many situations it impact farmers. So farm ecosystem.
So obviously your farm ecosystem is your whole online presence for your farm, not just your accounting software, but all the add-ons that come with it. Farm accounting isn't just income and expenses anymore, which I'm sure you're all fully aware of. You know, we've got increasing compliance in all areas of our farming business now. It's not just tax, it's the compliance we need to do with our meat and wool and milk companies, not just keeping records for completing our tax returns. It's keeping track of all those animal health records and all those barcodes and codes that are coming on your drenches and vaccines. It's keeping records of your accidents happening on farm, your health and safety records, your employee time records. You know, payroll is getting far more intensive than it used to be. So it's making sure you've got your backup records of all this information to safeguard your business. So there's heaps of other products that work in conjunction with your accounting package, with your zeros and your figures and your farm focus. Products like Farm IQ, Cloud Farmer, FarmX, they're all systems that are going to keep track of sort of that non-financial data. And it's a great way to keep all that information in one place, keep it stored, and remove that risk of losing that data in the wash, because I'm not sure about you, but I have on several occasions put the husband's tally notebook through the machine. To be fair, his fault for not taking it out of his pocket, but having that online in your online ecosystem is going to avoid some of those arguments.
Thanks, Sheree. To check my pockets
yes.
From now on, I think. Hey, so the next slide is really in general. It's the day-to-day accounting using online software for farmers. So day-to-day accounting, I mean, it's stuff like you're coding your transactions, it's doing your GST returns, it's making sure all of your information's filed away. So I guess, you know, in summary, the best sort of efficiencies that can be gained from using online systems is a lot of it can be automated. So we're just talking, for example, we've got transactions that happen over and over again. Systems can pick up that, can remember it. There's no manual intervention. It just sort of rolls over. So there are exceptions, but I mean, it just makes sure that all of the things that you probably don't need to spend a minute doing get done automatically. And I think we find in the past, even for us as accountants, we can easily whip up, transactions where in the past you might be spending an hour, it's probably taking sort of like 10, 15 minutes. So for you guys as well as farmers, I mean, not only do you not have to go and find the invoices, out of the envelopes, that sort of stuff, it's sort of all integrated into the system. So we find, the definite, I think, advantage and efficiencies from having online systems is the day-to-day accounting. Then also GST returns, for example. All of these programs do produce your GST returns firstly, and then secondly do file them through to the IRD. So, in the past it used to be a form, and then they upgraded to having a login, and you sort of chuck your numbers into the MyIR website. But now these programs effectively they throw all of your information into a summary, like it used to be the GST return form, and they file it electronically. So it's probably not news to everyone, but that's the sort of thing that the basic stuff that we see are really good day-to-day efficiencies using these programs.
So on to my favourite topic, record keeping, and I'm sure you guys all love it too. Obviously, and most of you should know that for tax purposes, all your records have to be kept for at least 7 years. In the case that the IRD comes knocking, you need to be able to produce copies of verification of your invoices that you have claimed a tax deduction or a GST claim on. So you don't need to print it out and leave it sitting in front of your computer like that anymore. You can, nothing has to be printed anymore. We can save tons of money because we all know how expensive printer ink is these days. So finding a really good electronic storage option is definitely the way to go. Now, Erin's just going to flip to a real quick example of how I like to file my records electronically. So this is an example of how I've got it set up on my hard drive. I have a folder set up for every financial year, and within that financial year, I have a folder for every month, which I save every invoice in. That way I know where everything is. I know which month it's been. So when hubby comes looking for, what did we pay for that vet bill, a couple of months ago, I say jump on the computer, go and look in January, and you'll find the bill for that vaccine. It's also great is that it's all saved in one place, and most of the stuff's been emailed to me by my suppliers now. I know 99% of our invoices get emailed out now, so it means that I'm not printing any of this out, and it's really easy for me to actually drag it and drop it into my software system so that it's all there for the accountant. You need to find a filing system that is going to work for you. Obviously this is me, but it's got to be something that's going to work for you, that's going to make it really easy for you to find that information in the event that your accountant comes knocking. We find a really good filing system like this can save you significant time. It can also save us significant time as your accountant. End of financial year, we tend to bug you a fair bit, going, we need a copy of this, we need a copy of this. If you've got it all saved in there, it's all there, easy to find. And we have a really great option now where we set up a client portal. You can drop all this straight into our portal to us so that you're not actually bringing in those big lever arch files full of paper. It's all there, just dumped up into the cloud, given to us, and then we can access it without having to bug you, and you come in for lunch and go, I do not need to be dealing with Cherie at the moment. So that's sort of my rundown on great record keeping.
And do remember, Cherie is an accountant, so hers should be like this, but we don't expect everybody's to be this perfect.
But if you could, it'd be great.
but just further to what Cherie said, I guess, is that what we try to do as a firm is to make everything a bit electronic, a bit more less cumbersome when it comes to paperwork and chasing up paperwork. So you might have noticed, if you've already got our questionnaires this year, they're just online links that are all fully electronic. So these sorts of things, I guess, we are helping us with our workflow as well, enabling us to do things a bit quicker. So as Sheree said, there is what we're calling a portal that's secure for you, and only you and us can see it, where anything like this, instead of sending it in like everyone has done in the past, it's just a copy and paste effectively into our what we're calling a portal, and then it's there for us to use and copy as we need. So yeah, saving some trees. Cool, thanks Sheree.
And it's still me. Sorry, you stuck with me again for a little bit longer. Budgeting and reporting. So, you know, no longer is it that your bank manager is going to come out to you, have a bit of morning tea and sit down and fill out a budget for you on the back of an envelope. They're putting the responsibility entirely back onto the farmer. You know your business, you know what you need, and they need to see the budget that you have produced. So using an online system is so much easier. You're putting that information in, it's there, it's available to your banker, to your accountant, to your farm advisor to be able to log in with whatever access you give them. And it's a lot simpler. You can carry forward your budgets from previous years and copy them into the current year and just change them slightly, or you can start from scratch. But it's actually giving you a really great view of how you think your business is going to go. You can take different snapshots depending on which software you're using, different scenarios, so that you can work through, if we changed, you know, the strategy of our business, how's that going to play out? And so it's much easier to do that in one of these online systems than it is on a spreadsheet or on a piece of paper. The reporting that you can get out of these systems can be as simple or as extensive as you like. You know, you can do a real simple income and expense report to see, and a cash flow to see how you're looking, or you can drill right down into, you know, what portion of your animal health bill are you spending on drenches, how could you save some money on that, and get some really great powerful information on, you know, what you're making per kilo, per hectare, per stock unit. So both Figured and Farm Focus give you this really good information, and it's right there. As long as you're keeping your records up to date and getting your transactions processed in a timely manner, you can have, you know, a really good current view of your financial position, so that you can make decisions on the day rather than having to wait 2 months later down the track till your accountant's done your GST for you.
Cool, and I think, you know, as an accountant also, it's really good to sit down with clients, and I find, you know, this is where we have the challenging conversations with each other, you know, when we're looking at budgeting and forecasting, as to, you know, what about this, or you know, have you thought about this, or what's happening here, why is this happening, sort of thing. So, and it's probably something that, you know, you guys as farmers will find very valuable, because you're not having to put as much time and effort into getting the data in there. And we talk about data all the time, but getting the information in there, you can flow it through, as Sheree said, from previous years or previous budgets, or you can copy them and make up different scenarios. So yeah, I think as accountants, we are doing a lot more of this work. Of course, as bankers have sort of stepped away from doing that on their side, and we're finding a lot of challenging and interesting information that we can sort of have some quality discussions with our clients on. So that's really cool. And we're going to go through at the end just over the budgeting and reporting really quickly of each option. So if you do stick around for that, we'll briefly show you each option. Payroll. This is me. Probably not my expertise, to be honest, but effectively payroll in terms of agri payroll, we've noticed now, and of course, you know, with the market out there, there's a lot more involved in payroll, and there's a lot of I guess fish hooks, but also, you know, in the market it's harder to get staff, so there's a lot of extra perks and additional stuff that's been thrown around out there. I guess I know personally for a couple of shepherds that my clients have been employing. So I guess payroll is really important that you get it right from the start. Allowances, make sure you know if they're taxable or not. Fringe benefit tax applies sometimes as well. So it's just, yeah, in terms of payroll now in the agri space, it's making sure that you have it all right and it's not just in the book anymore. So from there, we've not partnered, but we've done a lot of work with PaySource, and we think that they're a really good agri software provider. And I guess for us, because we also are in the business of providing payroll services, but I guess for us, we're saying PaySource is a cost-effective way for farmers to manage it themselves. And we do think that with all the compliance changes that are constantly happening, minimum wage situations where, you know, during calving staff are working long hours and they're averaging less than minimum wage, all that sort of stuff that has to be really monitored in a system, and PaySource does everything that needs to be done. So yeah, the reason why we've got PaySource here is because of that, but also automation. And we talk about automation already in terms of day-to-day accounting, but I guess what happens in these days in terms of payroll is these programs can just automatically do your wages. So if someone's on a salary, you know, it's automatically rolling it over, paying them every week, fortnightly, paying the IRD, direct debiting your account, and that sort of stuff. So it's just the basics. The basics are able to be automated, but then, you know, when there's other bits and pieces involved, then you can get in and sort of make those changes as you go, for the likes of leave and all that sort of stuff taken. So we think that having a payroll calculator rather than just using the IRD website is definitely going to save you if you have to prove anything to your staff as well. I mean, quite often, obviously, leave is the topic of interest when staff are not happy and they want to question why leave is this or isn't this. And these programs will be able to provide you with all of those records straight away. Also, for the staff's point of view, I mean, having something like PaySource or an online payroll provider enables them to, you know, they can input their time, you can check their time, approve it, they can check all of their pay slips if they want to, they can apply for leave. So I guess for us, when we're advising clients on payroll, and especially if they're agri clients and they're using either Farm Focus or Xero and Figured, this program works because it integrates with those programs. So we also think that, you know, going forward as payroll gets a bit more complicated and laws change, it's better to have an online program that's going to change with those laws and all those changes. So effectively, yeah, these guys update as changes come in, etc., etc. The other cool thing I guess we'll quickly talk about is, and everyone probably is aware or seen them before, the Federated Farmers contracts. They're just employment contracts that are standardised for agri situations, and many times they're purchased hard copies and booklets. So PaySource does those electronically. We've had clients use them. One just this morning actually. So yeah, if you're a member of Federated Farmers, well, you get a bit cheaper, but effectively everything's electronic. You can produce the employment agreements in the system, send it to the staff member, they sign it, effectively sends it back to you. So yeah, that sort of stuff is one of those spots where we quite often get clients come in and say, what do we do? We need a shepherd, or we need a farmhand or something like that, and how do we do it? And it can cost a lot between a lawyer and I guess an accountant to sort that. So these sorts of things are available and they're electronic and they're there now. So just an FYI, I guess. But yeah, we're always happy to answer any payroll questions if anyone has any. It is quite complicated with farmers, and we quite often find that a lot of farmers don't take holidays and actual leave. So yeah, something to look out for as well, making sure your staff are taking that leave. So health and safety is a good thing, but also for
it's for your business as well. You can log in there and see what sort of leave liability is there. You know, if you've got a staff member who you've had on staff for 5-10 years that maybe only takes 1 week a year of holiday, you've got a huge liability to your business. So to be able to log into that payroll system and see what you actually owe to that staff member if they were to leave at any point is going to be hugely beneficial. And you can have those conversations with that staff member each year to say, hey, this is what you need to do, because you're going to cost me thousands if you pack up and leave now.
Yeah, I think it's just feeling a bit more comfortable about your payroll situation, I guess, is having it all all the I's dotted and the T's crossed. We're just going to head into the demos actually. And if you want to ask any questions, you're welcome to now at the end. But this is just a quick illustration of PaySource, I guess. And you know, we don't get any commission or anything from them, but we just think that for agri businesses, it's really straightforward enough for everyone to learn and do. So we're going to just flick into the demos. Is there any questions in the meantime, or is anyone asleep? No. No. All right, so we're going to quickly go through Xero Figured first. So remembering there's two options, zero figured, and the other option is farm focus. The one thing I'll just quickly say about zero figured in terms of our side is that zero figured is the full solution. So in terms of us as accountants, we also would use that program as well. So we'd do your full financials out of that solution. In farm focus, we sort of have to drag out of there and put into another solution for us. So just an FYI, sometimes that's a little bit easier for your accountants as well. So listen to me too much. This is Cherie's demonstration. It's about 13 minutes, so if you want to get a drink or something, feel free to. Sorry, I've got to put the sound on, don't I? Usually hovers up. Also, it's not going to this time, is it?
Promote yourself, people. We worked this out this morning, didn't we? It was yesterday, whenever it was.
Yeah, we did.
Give me a sec, I'll just go.
Yeah. What these products can offer. When we log into Xero, you can see a nice pretty dashboard that you will log into, which shows a real quick summary of where your bank account's sitting and accounts owed to you and accounts you owe other people, so you can see where you're sitting financially. In order to code your bank statement, we come into the bank, it tells us how many items are there ready to be coded. So when you're coming in here to do any of this, you'll click on reconcile, which basically brings up your bank statement on the left hand side, and on the right hand side is where you're going to code it to or what you're going to match it to. So as you can see here, this is quite an intuitive system. It is thinking of where you've coded things to previously, once you've got a bit of history in there, and is making suggestions. You do have to be really careful that you don't automatically take those suggestions all the time, because it may be that payment is different to how you dealt with it last month. But say, for instance, this one, interest, it's an expense we have each month. It knows that we pay it to Westpac and that it gets coded to interest on loan. So I can quite easily go in there and say, yep, okay, that's what it is. These bills here are ones that I've set up on an accruals basis. So I've received that bill last month, set up the payment and set it up in Xero and coded it already, so that it's really easy for me when I come to do my GST, that it's as simple as matching that payment, and because that's already been coded on the invoicing side, so I can match those. The other thing you can do is for ones you haven't created an invoice for, so say this one, if I hadn't created an invoice for that, I could simply go in there, I would choose who my contact is that I'm allocating it to. Every transaction in Xero needs a contact. Choose where I'm coding that to. So if it was lamb sales, choose those, and then it's as simple as going okay. With this one here, I have actually got invoices set up, but because it's two separate invoices, what I'd have to do is go in, click on match, and then I can find both of those invoices and hit reconcile, and that matches those off. Okay. The other thing we can do is set up rules so that it, this one already has a rule set up for Yamaha Finance. We can choose not to apply that if we don't want to apply it. Otherwise, it's simple as going okay. To set up the rules, we come in through options, create a bank rule, and then you go in and decide what you want it to choose and therefore where you want it to code it to. So you would go through and make it as broad or as narrow as you like, the information that it's picking up, and then you'd simply come down here and hit save. Okay, so that each month or week, whenever those payments come out, we know that there is a rule there for those. Okay. Once you've done all your coding, you would do your GST return by clicking on accounting and go to GST return. It takes you into a screen, and if you have a GST return available, it'll be sitting there ready to go. Okay, so I've actually finalised all mine, but if I come in here and revert this one back to draft, just to show you what it looks like when you come in here. If we go to our GST return, you'll now see it sitting there waiting to be filed. Okay, it's as simple as clicking on it. It'll tell you if you've got any uncoded transactions, therefore you need to go back into the bank transaction screen to finish the coding. Before you file it, always go into your audit report to double check that you are happy with where you've coded things to, and that there's not some perhaps wages in here with GST on when they shouldn't be. When you are happy that everything is looking fine, you would hit save and final. It will then give you the option to directly lodge it from here to the IRD. I've already done that, and see it's giving me a really good audit trail of where I have filed that and what date and time with Inland Revenue. But it will be as simple as clicking on this link. You log into your My IR account and it lodges it, pre-populates it with all this information without you actually having to manually type that in and have the possibility of having errors in there from transposing the figures. So we really recommend doing that. Makes year-end reconciliation a lot easier for your accountant. When it comes to using Xero for reporting and budgeting, Figured is the area you do all of this in. Okay, Figured is your production and budgeting and reporting tool for farmers. Once again, you log into Figured, it gives you a pretty dashboard to see where you're sitting at. Okay, to do your budgeting, you'd come into the planning grid. This is for the budgeting of sort of other income and expenses, anything to do with your production. So if you're a sheep and beef farmer, your sheep transactions, your beef transactions, that's all done under operations. But all your expenditure and other income is done down here, stuff that we're not measuring based on production units. It's a really simple budgeting tool to use. It's as simple as going in and putting whatever budget items you want into each screen. You can also treat it a bit like a spreadsheet and say, righto, so down, and you can put calculations in here. Down here, we're going to, in December, have 50 bales of hay at, I don't know, $80, and that actually calculates what that is going to be. The other really powerful tool in here is that you can spread your expenditure based on a previous year. So particularly powerful, say, for your animal health, where you have specific months where you have your expenditure sort of follows a bit of a pattern. But say with animal health, last year we budgeted 20,000. We know that everything's gone up. So what we want to do is we want to increase that perhaps to 25,000 for the year. So I would go spread $25,000, and I want to spread it by the curve. And from there, I can select what I want to base that on. Usually, I'd be most likely to base it on my actuals for my previous year. So if I go base it on 2021 actuals and go spread, what it's going to do is it's going to take that $25,000 and then it's going to proportionately spread that expense in the high months. So down here in February, in January, where we've got high months of drench and vaccine, you know, it's going to spread that increase across those high months and have the lower months lower, sort of based on that pattern, which is really cool. When it comes to doing any of your production budgeting, you come back up here into trackers. Okay, you need to make sure that you're in the year that you're doing your budget in. Okay, this is what this indicator is. It shows you what financial year you're in and where you're reporting your actuals up to. So in here, I want to set a budget for my beef. Okay, I would switch it on to monthly, so I can just go down and put per month what I'm going to be selling. Okay, I am going to be selling my R2 heifers for the year. That's the first budget I want to put in. Okay, so I'd click on the R2 heifer sales box. Then I scroll down here and it gives me my monthly items. And so now here, what I'm going to want to do is I'm going to want to sell 75 heifers there in September. You can choose as to whether you are budgeting based on kilos or per head. So if you're basing your price per head, then you don't actually have to put your kilos in here. But if you're going off some forecasted schedule pricing from the works, then you could use your per kilo and go righto. So we're going to be selling them. They're going to be 250 kilos carcass weight when we send them off to the works. We're going to base that on a $8 schedule per kilo. You can go like that. And so then you can go down for your full year. You say you've got 150 heifers to sell, you can sell, you know, another 50 there. Perhaps we're going to go by weight here. So we're going to go, right, those are going to be $1,350 per head. Okay, and then over here it's giving you the summary for all of them. So these ones here per kilo we're showing, because we haven't put a weight in this one, that's why it's not showing a per kilo price. So it is always good if you can put a per kilo in, but yeah, gives you a real quick way to do your budgeting. The other thing you can do for both your production and your standard expenses is you can export your previous year data or data from 2, 3, 4 years ago, and base your budget on that, import it into this next year's budget, and then just go and titivate with your figures. But that's another great way to do it. When it comes to reporting, if you're wanting to look at any of your reports, you come into the reporting screen. Okay, there's a barrage of different reports that you can get from out of here, and some really awesome reports. Obviously, most people are going to be wanting to look at their cash flow. So this is sort of a basic view of what your cash flow looks like. If you're printing it based on your actuals up to, say, April there, it's telling us that all those are actuals and those are our forecasted transactions. But it's a really good, easy to view report. Another great, and this is a new report, is called the Farm Summary. Now, this is one that your banker is going to love. Gives you a quick overview of your farm, your area, your livestock that you're running, and then a real quick financial summary giving you your net profit, then your assets and your liabilities and your equity, and then these ratios, which your bankers are just going to love. Another great report is the production report. Now, this is probably an equivalent to the EFS report in Farm Focus. So this report breaks down your income and your expenditure based on your kilos, your hectares and your stock units. So really great benchmarking report for you if you're involved in discussion groups, or if you're wanting to measure yourself against the beef and lamb or dairy NZ stats. This gives you some really great information. There's also these tracker reports. So these are your based on your stock that you're reporting on. Now this, we've got the tracker summary report, which is a really great report just to give you an overall view of where your livestock's sitting at. So it gives us what our opening was, all our movements for the year, and what our closing is going to be. Once again, it is going to be based on actual and with forecast to go. Or you can report on just actual or just forecast, and then gives you a real quick purchase and sales summary. So you've got a real good overall picture of where your purchases and sales are sitting. The other one, which I think you're going to find really useful with the impending greenhouse gas emissions compliance that we possibly are going to be having to do, is this tracker monthly report. Okay, now what that shows is the movement in your trackers by month, and if we're looking at going to be looking at the on-farm, you know, per farm reporting with this greenhouse gas emissions, this is something that is going to be based on your livestock movements. So that's a pretty cool report to be able to just pull straight out of your system, as long as you're keeping all your stock movements up to date. Okay. So that's a real quick overview of the figured reports. The reporting in here is amazing. There's heaps of other stuff. You can run a balance sheet, this livestock gross margin report, and the beauty of Xero and Figured together, it's an all-in-one. Not only is it a management tool for you guys, it's an all-in-one accounting system. So your accountant can actually run the financials straight from Xero and Figured, rather than having to export it out into another system and import it. And basically double handle your data. As long as the data you're putting into the system is correct, and the information you can get out of it is pretty powerful. The last thing I probably want to touch on in Xero is the fact that you've got a unique inbox to you. Okay, so if we come in here into files, this has its own unique email address where you can forward your anything into here, and it will sit in here. It won't go anywhere else but in here. What I like to do is set up an end of financial year folder for each financial year in here, and that's where I like to drop any of my year-end reconciliations and the other information that the accountant loves to pester you for. Okay, so you know they're always coming back wanting your loan statements and your closing bank statements and your closing shares on hand, anything, your legal invoices, drop it all in here, and then it's a lot less them coming back to you asking for information and a lot less time you having to go and dig it out. The beauty of Xero and a lot of these new online systems is you can attach all your invoices to all your transactions, which I fully recommend. Once again, it's a great filing system for your software, and it just avoids all that backwards and forwards between you and your accountant when they're trying to get your work done and you're trying to get work done at home on the farm. So, if you want to know any more, or have a more in-depth rundown of these systems, please don't hesitate to reach out to your accountant or to us if we're not your accountant, because yeah, we would love to show you how you can best use these systems to make your life easier. Thanks.
Oh, so thanks, Cherie, for that overview. I think some people were having some trouble was actually potentially because it was a video that we recorded, but was everyone able to get that in the end? I guess it's hard for us to get a response. So we're just going to go on to the farm focus one. I guess yeah, it's hard to gauge what you guys might already be using or not, and whether it'll be relevant for you. But what I'll do.
They can come off mute, Aaron, if they do want to chat.
Yeah, well, maybe, is there any questions so far for those that maybe don't use Farm Focus and don't want to stick around?
Yeah, hey, I got a quick question.
Sure.
We last year got put onto MYOB from MCI, but obviously looking at the Xero figured that's yeah, the system trumps it fivefold. I guess we're probably paying peanuts for MYOB. Right. But what's I guess, first question is, what's the price kind of like? And also second question is, how easy is it to transfer between systems?
Oh, thanks, Anastasia. I think for Xero figured, if we just start with the first answer to your question, the price. So yeah, the monthly subscription ranges, but it's approximately, I guess if you're currently using MYOB, it's about $7 a month. And then the Xero figured combo, Cherie,
looking at probably closer to $65 to $70 a month for the two together.
Yeah, it's like $800, $900 a year.
Yeah, that's probably your minimum. It depends if you're going to want to do sort of it based on accrual accounting, so where you're putting all your bills in before they're due, then you'd have to up the Xero subscription to the $45 a month. Yeah, plus then figured on top of that, it's about another $50 a month. So then you're looking at perhaps over $100 a month for the two together. But they are specific for a farming system. While MOB's a really great little cash book system, a really cheap, easy to use system, when it comes to farming, it's not set up. It's not set up for your budgeting, and it's not set up for your specific production reporting, where Xero Figured or Farm Focus are.
Yeah, so apologies if we didn't have that conversation with you at the time, Anastasia. We should have, but I mean, we do put to the clients these are the options, and I guess this is the cheap and easy one, and depending on what you want to get out of the system, obviously going forward with all of the compliance stuff that's coming around with the government and GHG and all that sort of stuff, having these systems is probably going to become the norm or the requirement, I guess, when you're running a farm business. And in the past year, sure, a lot of farmers have gotten away of just using like an MYOB program. So yeah, apologies there. Long story short.
Just a quick question on that though, Aaron. Like the subscription's obviously higher, but the the information coming out of it, but also the time that you guys are spending on it, that must outweigh the actual over expense of the different subscriptions, if you know what I mean, doesn't it? Wouldn't it?
Yeah, I think anyway, in general,
Yeah.
the more expensive things are, obviously, the better they are. So I guess, yeah, you're right. The systems do offer a lot more than these systems do offer a lot more than MYOB. Yeah, and it's user demand really. So yeah, Anastasia, if you like the look of it, yeah, we're happy to give you a quick run through, a further run through. Yeah, just a no obligation sort of thing to show you around it. And in terms of between two programs, if you're referring to Xero and Figured, yes, they link and feed through to each other. If you're meaning changing from MYOB to Xero and Figured, no, it's not a button that you push sort of thing. But yeah, it's a little bit of work there.
There is going to be a conversion cost no matter what system you change to, unfortunately. It is just the way it is. But then once you get everything into, say if you were to choose a Xero Figured system, it's all in there. We get the conversion balances in there, and then we're running your entire set of financials from that system. And it's getting your daily feeds of your bank, and yeah, you're just getting good daily information from that. But it's like any system. You get out of it what you put in. You put rubbish in, rubbish out. So yeah.
You get that pain changing over from banks to power companies to telephone companies anyway. So pain, there is pain no matter what change you've got, right?
Yeah.
Anastasia, was that the answer you're after, or is there a little bit more needed there?
Yeah, no, that's primo as. We probably just looked at it and we're being cheap without realising what Xero Figured were. So definitely a conversation for the future, but now we know a little bit more, we can make a bit more informed choice. So thank you very much.
Yeah, cool, thanks. Did anyone else have any questions? Or?
Yeah, so we use yourselves to do the payroll. So would you recommend using PaySource?
This is a hard conversation to have. Yes, Henirangi, yes, we would recommend. Yes, we would, and we've had that conversation, you know, as a firm, as an accounting practice, that for our clients going forward, if it's going to be more cost effective and more efficient for you guys, we would be advising you guys to, with the assistance of us, sort of, helping you to start and go over. But we would be yes. Answer would be yes. Yeah.
Okay. I wish I'd have known a little bit more about Xero. I probably could have done a little bit more research on it because we've only just paid our yearly subscription for Farm Focus.
Oh yes, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, well, you want to see that out. Unfortunately, I don't think they'll give you a refund on that. But in saying that, Farm Focus and Erin's going to play that demo now, is still a really good system. Whilst it's not the overall all-in-one solution, it probably is a slightly cheaper solution than Xero and Figured together. And the benefit of Farm Focus is that it's an all-in-one system in terms of the production and the cash. With Xero and Figured, there is still the slight complication. While the systems talk to each other, you do have to make sure they are balancing up, because there is situations where they can get out of sync. So it's weighing up a few different options when you are looking at those systems.
Okay, thanks.
And also, if you do want to just chat with your accountant, we all are ready to have that conversation about PaySource and our payroll clients. So, yeah, but I'm happy to put them in touch with you as well if need be.
Thank you. Yeah, we've just taken over the business, and we're just starting with some new staff, so it might be a good place to start.
Yeah.
With PaySource.
PaySource, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's have you employed? Oh, sorry, we don't really need to ask all these questions. I'm pretending I'm in a client meeting rather than a webinar. Thank you. Is there anyone else that has a question? Cool. Well, I guess if you don't want to watch and listen to me more, Farm Focus, then you're welcome to jump off the webinar now. But I'm going to play it's about 10 minutes, and it's an overview of Farm Focus. Probably just suitable for everyone, no matter what you've used or not used in it. So if you're not there when we come back, Thank you for joining. Wait a minute, I'm just going to. All right, guys, Farm Focus. So those of you who have been using Cash Managerial in the past, in previous iterations of that, and currently maybe using Farm Focus, may already know the intricacies of the program. So we're just going to do a high-level overview today. It was actually meant to be a live demo. Apologies, this is a recorded one. But if we start with the dashboard, so the dashboard's just a summary effectively. Now we've got a demo file here and it's all sort of mixed up, so there's not really a clear example here for you, but the cash flow summary effectively is what it is. It's the cash flow summary to now. There also is a few bits of information here about what's happening in the bank, what transactions are there, what invoices are owing, what invoices are, or supplier invoices are due, and then if we scroll down, just a bit of a trading summary and some pie charts showing, where the money's come from and where it's gone to. So effectively, this is a really brief overview, and you dig deeper into the program to get the information following on from this. So effectively, the program has 4 key sort of tabs over here on the taskbar. The plan tab, which is where you do your budgeting, cash flow, forecasting, etc. Your scenario planning. Actuals, which is your bank transactional stuff, as well as your stock movement, stock activity, that sort of stuff. And then the key one here is your reporting. So we're going to go through them really quickly, just highlighting a few of the key areas there. So if we start with plan, so the planning area doesn't look like it used to in Cash Managerial, if you're familiar with that, but effectively it's doing the same thing, and it's probably a lot better of a view. So effectively we've got the working plan section here, and depending on if you're doing status quo budgets for the next 3 or 4 years, or however you might be planning your farm business, you've got the options here to do that, but also have a base budget to start from first, which would normally be sitting in the baseline. And then from your working plan, you might think, wait a minute, I'm going to, for example, we've got a demo on here, I'm going to increase the stocking rate for 10% and to see the implications of that on cash flow on your forecasted information. So we'll just quickly dive in to this current working plan. And this year is almost finished now, so just bear with me on this one. Effectively, sheep and beef farmers and dairy farmers we're probably going to focus on today. In terms of budgeting, there would normally be, if you were a dairy farmer, a dairy forecaster tab up here, and we won't look at it, won't waste time, but effectively you would go and enter your kilograms of milk solids that you're expecting to do for the year, and if you're Fonterra or Synlait, the program will automatically bring in the advance rates or the payment rates. If you're not, it's sort of a manual addition there for yourself. So effectively, it will work out the current year advance milk payments and then the deferred payments for next year. So the retro payments, and it'll push it through to next year's working plan as well, and so forth. So it's actually a really good way for you to not only look at the implication of those solids this year, but also into the future years when the physical cash comes into the bank account. Also, in addition to that, the livestock. So same thing for dairy farmers. The livestock section of the plan is where you can effectively budget your movement of stock throughout the year, stagger out your stock sales wherever they might land, enter your births and your expected missing deaths and missing if you can do that. So effectively you've got what we have here is a planned livestock reconciliation for the year, and that based on whatever values we're entering or expecting. Actually the national average market values have just come up. We'll quickly whip over, I've got that open. So the herd values have come up for the 2022 year just a couple of days ago, and there is quite a lift in the values this year, which is probably expected.
So we won't go through them, but it is there on the IRD website if anyone wants to go and have a look. For example, look at a couple of key ones. Mixed age dairy cows looking at about $16.97 this year. Mixed age ewes up about $202. I think that's up about $30. So just as an indication of the movement of stock per herd value this year. So if we flick back to the working plan, effectively there's a few key calculators in here for you when you're doing your budget. So once you've got your livestock, effectively would normally be done first. So we're happy with our livestock movement. We're happy with what we think we're going to be able to transact in our livestock area. Then on our cash flow report, it will summarise those numbers or quantity of livestock movement into dollar values and when the timing of those values will hit the bank account. So that gives us a base for our income and purchases of cattle, purchases of livestock. So if we scroll down, we're not going to go into this fully today, but there's a section for any other income. So if you have dairy milk, well, you'll have that up the top. You can't see that here. This is a sheep and beef budget, but also other income, you can go and manually put that in. Now, after the first year, or if you've got historical information in there, if you've already been using Cash Manager Rural in the past, you can populate this with your actual information from last year. So all your transactions from last year, etc., you can pre-populate this and work from that going forward. So I'm just going to really scroll down to a couple of things. So for example, you can spread across the full year in amounts. So if we've got a permanent someone on 80k a year, say, you can put in 80,000 and then apply that over the next 12 months, well, 11 months really. So yeah, it splits up as best it can, the 80,000 across the year. Same sort of thing when it comes to, for example, you've got a monthly amount that you know is going to be the same every month. You can enter that amount, disregard where I'm putting it, $100 a month, you can copy it across as well. Oh, you can copy it across bi-monthly, quarterly, 6 monthly, whatever you like. So these sorts of things just help the manual process of actually getting the figures into the budget. And of course, if you've done budgeting in the past, which a lot of you will have, it's just working pretty much line by line of the budget and then doing some justification around what figures you're putting in there and then using some of these tools to enable you to do it a little bit faster. So what we always have with Farm Focus and Cash Manager Rural is keeping track of the bank balance throughout the year. So we know at which parts of the year that overdraft limit might be getting a bit close, and we work around that either with the bank or either in a way that we can ensure that doesn't happen. So this section down the bottom just shows the bank movement for the monthly periods and then showing where your bank account's probably going to end up based on your forecast at the end of the year. I think that's enough on cash flows. I think we won't go too much more into that, but it's a really good tool there for you guys to also track what's happening actually against what was planned to be happening throughout the year. So budget versus actuals, doing variance reporting, things like that. I might skip actuals and just go to reports next. So we do have an array of reports here. Some key ones we'll just quickly look at is the GST return. So that's obviously required for all farmers, and we'll look at that really quickly. So I think I've got it open over here. So GST return is all electronic. It does pull through your information from the system, slot it into the GST boxes as you'd normally see, or back when they had paper returns, that's just the numbers they had there. And then effectively what you do is you review your GST return, you'd scroll down and then you'd go look at the coded lines. So the coded lines is where you're sort of checking to make sure your GST return is correct. Everything in there is in the right place. We won't do that, but after you finish your GST return, you'd go save and final with the IRD. File with the IRD, and that pushes it through to the IRD automatically, and you won't need to go into the My IR login and do anything there. But you will have to go and make that payment if there's a GST payment due. Cool, and the other report was under the report section, but I'll just quickly open it up here. It's Economic Farm Surplus Report. So you guys are probably familiar with in Cash Manager Rural, this report. Effectively, it's showing you per per kilogram milk solid, per stock unit, all those sorts of key performance indicators that you check against. So effectively you're saying where are you at per hectare for wages, or whatever it might be that you're focusing on, and you can use that to check against benchmarking and all those sorts of things as well. So this is a really good report. Last report, I guess, for accountants is to ensure that your livestock reconciliation is looking like it should be. Ensure you're entering those deaths and missing. Ensure you're entering those lambs born and those calves born and all that sort of stuff into here as well, into the system as well. So this is the report that we'll go and check to see, okay, we've got 1,000 missing lambs, that can't be right, those sorts of things. Cool. And the last thing I want to look at is the actual screen. So really briefly, this is your bank transactional stuff. This is where you also do your tax invoicing if you are invoicing customers or clients or whoever you might be invoicing. If you're selling hay, all that sort of stuff. On the left hand side is where the invoices sit, and they sit there until they've been matched to a bank transaction. So for example, any bills, if you're using the invoice scanner, which is an option, or if you're uploading bills, those sorts of things, they'll sit here. And I'm going to really show you really quickly how to process some of those. So the grayed out ones, they've already been, we'll say, coded or allocated. So we'll just have a look at this one here. This is a bill from Firth and Stevenson. And we know it's, let's just say it's for the ute service. So we're not looking at these too closely, but each individual line can be coded. So for example, we would go vehicles and then would go ute. And we know that air cleaners for the ute. If it's a bill that's broken down for many different expenses, then you'd go and apply those all separately. If it's all for the same expense, which we're going to say this is, you can select all and then allocate all of those lines to vehicle expenses. Okay, and then we'll click save. So what we can do next is if we go up to this, and this is a really quick show through, sorry. So apologies if I missed things. You can go up here and click quick matching. And what it will do is bring up all of those bills that have been allocated to expenses, and then we can find over here where it's been paid. So this one actually hasn't been paid, but I've just seen Hewitt's motorcycles, which has been paid. So I'm going to go up here and then I'm going to match that bill with that payment physically coming through the bank account. Match. Cool. So that's just an example. Otherwise, and as you probably all have done in the past, you can code it by transaction itself. So, yep, you'd click in, for example, rates, and then code wherever this needs to go to rates. One example I'm probably going to quickly show you is you can memorize as well. So you can do a memorization function called a coding rule. So every time that, for example, in this case, this is IRD, looks like deduction. So this is IRD PAYE. You can set the system up to know every time that PAYE is paid, it can be allocated to wages rather than having to do this manually each time. Cool. So other than that, it's a really working through all your transactions, trying to get some automation, as much automation as you can there, and then trying to match as much as you can to your invoices if your invoices are going into the program. Now I think I've gone over my limit. So yeah, we're always happy to provide support in this area. This is something we're doing a lot of at the moment. So yeah, just please reach out to us if you need some help in terms of Farm Focus. Thank you.
Oh, I think everyone's still there. Better stop that. Hey, yeah. So Farm Focus, that was a really quick run through. It can do a lot more than what we've shown, and so can Zero and Figured. So yeah, I mean, there's plenty of help online as well. If any of you are using those programs and need a little bit extra help, we're of course happy to help. But there are plenty of help videos and things like that online that, you know, if you have spare time to watch. But yeah, thanks for joining us. Have you got anything to add, Cherie?
Yeah, I guess I'll probably just say one of the main benefits about Farm Focus that I like is the fact that you actually still can get someone on the phone if you do have issues from Farm Focus support. So pretty much every other online software that is around these days, it is via the chat bubble, but you can still pick up a phone and talk to someone from Farm Focus for support, which is really helpful.
Cool. Oh, well, thanks for joining us. Yeah, enjoy your